welcome to my documentary about the site of General Election 15. And I'm going to interview Mr. Zan and one of the young voters, Matthew. Let's go. As I mentioned previously, today I'm going to interview with Mr. Zan, a lecturer from UWMKU. And so, sir, what's your perspective towards the general election that happened last year? I know a lot of people are exciting. I would say it's like a football match, and a lot of people stay out until the next morning, including me. I stay out until 2 a.m. and the general election results still haven't announced yet. So, what's your perspective towards it?
Oh, it was a very interesting election because there was no clear winner, right? Which I had already predicted in my article as well. I knew that it was never going to be a clear winner because the country, number one, is too divided, and there were too many political parties that were not in coalition with each other. So that was interesting. And everybody seemed to have a big problem with Pakatan Harapan trying to build coalition post-election. But that happens all the time in all different countries. New Zealand, that was what happened. And the Netherlands, that is what happened. Germany, that is what happened. In a parliamentary democracy like this, in always multiple party parliamentary democracy like in Malaysia, it happens very often where there's no clear winner and coalitions usually are formed after the elections. I think it's a good thing also. It's a good thing for democracy because then you know that all these parties, when they form a new coalition, they have to compromise between their manifestos. So in other words, you get a government that more or less serves all the people, rather than just a segment of the winners of, So it was very interesting.
Next up, another highlight is the party of Perikatan Nasional, also known as PM. And you would consider as underdog happened in the last general election. Even the experts, political analysts saying that, wow, I didn't foresee that coming. And also another highlight for PM also, they present a lot of racism idea during the campaign. And what is the long-term effect about it?
Nothing that PN did is new. It's something that has been going on for a long time. They are still very much rooted in race-based politics, which is something that Malaysia has been caught in for ever since independence. It's always race-based. So Perikatan Nasional has just been playing on that. Because you see, Perikatan Nasional coalition parties also, they're all Malay parties, Malay-based parties. Personally, I think it's even worse than the Barisan Nasional Coalition because Barisan Nasional Coalition, although it's race-based, you still have representation from the Chinese, you still have representation from the Indians, you have representation from different ethnic groups in East Malaysia and all that, and then they form one coalition. But Perikatan Nasional, the coalition, the component parties are 100% Malay-based. So I wouldn't say it's dangerous, not really dangerous, because political parties have a right to represent anything they want, right? And it just boils down to the people who are voting, whether they like it or not. And Perikatan Nasional is a small number, right? But a lot of people voted for them, so maybe it does show that some Malaysians are still race-based. They still probably fear for the position of their race, and maybe they feel threatened. So when they feel threatened, they see a party like Perikatan Nasional wanting to protect their rights, they vote for that probably.
So the voters are still afraid of their race-based, they're afraid they might lose some rights. As we all know, in Malaysia, a lot of rights with Bumi Putra, and so another non-Bumi Putra will start to raise some about that. Hey, why do you get all these benefits from it? So perhaps it's afraid of their race-based, so a lot of people vote for PN, so PN will just gain advantage from it. That's it.
Maybe. Yeah, it could be a possibility. We won't know until we ask the voters.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so, sir, as you mentioned previously, even Pakatan Harapan, a lot of people don't foresee there could be a big winner happen in last general election. So why did public choose to vote for Pakatan Harapan during the election, although they don't perform well in state elections such as Malacca and Johor State?
All right. The Malacca and Johor State elections happened at a different time. the sentiments of the people were totally different because people were a little bit frustrated with Pakatan Harapan after the Sheraton move. I think a lot of people felt that Pakatan Harapan could have done more after 2018 when they were in the government. Probably they felt that, number one, Pakatan Harapan could have done more. Number two, they could have done something to prevent the Sheraton move from happening. So everybody they were frustrated with that. The opposition, which then took power from Pakatan Harapan, which is the Barisan Nasional Coalition, they took advantage of the situation when they were in power. They made sure they did everything right. They improved the governance, they improved the administration. So the people saw that, and they felt that was the way to go lah. It's totally different than the recent elections, general elections. Even in the recent general elections, if you say Pakatan Harapan won big, they didn't win big. They won, but we all knew that they could not win enough seats to take control of the government. So they had to enter into a coalition with other parties as well who were not in their coalition, and that's how they got power lah. Yeah, and if when they work together with these other parties to form this current coalition, they hold the majority. So I guess they have the upper hand. They can dictate a little bit more things lah. Yeah.
So I assume that Pakatan Harapan may need a lot of younger voters, especially from 18 years old. And right now, what we could look for the last general election and the SPM. What is it? SPM? SPM, right? The general election.
SPRM.
SPRM.
No, SPRM is Rasuah.
What is it? SPM, right? No, SPR. SPR announced that only 18, and now a lot of youngsters could go out and vote. And does it make an impact for our country, democracy?
Sure, I'm all for only 18. I think the young people should be the one have more at stake when they come to vote rather than older people. Because young people, they still have their whole lives ahead of them, so when they vote, they make sure they vote for the future. Old people, they're going to die already, so they vote just for this few years of their life, so they're not really voting for the future. But no, it's a good thing. Yeah. But a lot of people think that the young voters would definitely vote for Pakatan Harapan because they want progression, they want liberalism, they don't want conservatism and all that. But obviously, in the last election, it did not prove that lah. Young voters will still vote however they want to vote, depending on where they are, depending on what they are exposed to and what they know, right? So and what they want really.
Yes.
So of course it will have an impact. But what is that impact? We have to see and try to understand that even better now lah. Since the last elections, we had so many young voters. I think more research needs to be done to see how they voted and why they voted the way they voted, right? Because you can see that although a lot of them voted for Pakatan Harapan, there were a lot who voted for Perikatan Nasional too. There must be a reason why they want to vote for Perikatan Nasional. Everybody seems to think that the young voters won't do that, right?
Yeah.
But they did. So we need to find out why. If we find out why, then maybe we can find out how to move ahead as a country as well. Yeah.
So, as Sir you just mentioned, the way they vote, even though I watched some video clips online back then during election or before election, to be specific with it, before election, even though a lot of people try to asking a survey about it, and some citizens may say that the voters nowadays, even though they announce that only 18 and younger voters are encouraged to vote, but some citizens may have different view on it. They say that they just vote whatever they want, or if some party just give out beneficial for them, they will just go and vote. So do you think this situation has to be cancelled?
You mean bribery for votes?
Yeah, bribery for votes, as a lot of TikTok saying that just give out money and then just ask for votes.
Oh yeah, of course. Corruption like this should not happen lah. You shouldn't pay for votes lah. People should not take money and then vote for whatever the people who are paying them say. They should vote for the right reasons lah. I don't know. I have no proof or evidence of this thing happening, so I can't say for sure, but definitely, that's considered bribery lah. Yeah, so money politics should not be happening lah. Yeah, but we hear that a lot lah.
As you know, Malaysia, we know something going on.
No, I don't know. Right? Yeah, we have no proof, we can't say we know. Right? If not, it would be defamation. But we hear it a lot. We hear talk of that a lot. Yeah.
So, sir, as we all know, there are a lot of young parties and young participants are joining from the last general election. So, what's your aspect towards the trend of it?
Trend of young parties?
Yeah, the trend of young parties. So, a lot of people may say that, oh, young parties is the way to go out, not the old parties. Do you agree with it?
Sure. It doesn't matter. The more parties there are, the better, I guess. But these parties, at least it's diverse lah. Yeah, no, I've got no problems with that. I think it's good. But some of these parties need to do their groundwork and research on how to enter into politics. Yeah. Because like, for example, if we look at Muda the last time around, yeah, sometimes they say the right things on social media and it gets, attention on social media. It doesn't really translate into votes, or maybe it doesn't even really translate to people who are interested in voting. Or they just make statements that, this is my personal observation, like Muda for example, they make a lot of statements that people on social media will be very happy about, especially the woke people. But then, does it really translate into votes? Not necessarily so, because Muda, not many seats they won. Yeah.
So, I would say, like, there's a highlight for it. The party should done their groundwork when it comes to general election, so they will have a great understanding about what people want. So, last question, I would say is a message question for it. A message to all youngsters, including me, and some of them don't have the intention to vote, as I realize that some people don't want to vote, have vote on last election. They say that the price ticket to Sabah or Sarawak, especially East Malaysia, are high, so they are not going back to vote. Even here in Semenanjung, Malaysia, they say that there's no point to vote. So what's your message towards all the younger voters?
Oh, I think they all need to vote. Because if they say there's no point, I think there is a point. There is change. 2018, nobody thought Pakatan Harapan at that time could win. They won because of the votes. The recent general elections in 2022 also, you see, because of the votes and how it turned out, Pakatan Harapan won, so there is a change. You can see that there is a changing of governments between Barisan Nasional and the opposition, and different parties get into power, different parties get out of power, and that shows that votes matter because people are making these decisions, and it's showing, right? It doesn't matter whether they vote for Pakatan Harapan or Perikatan Nasional or whatever party they want to vote for. If they want to vote, it has been proven in the last 2-3 elections that voting has been able to change things. So yeah, they should vote. And if they're going to use excuses like, oh, it's troublesome to go and vote or too expensive to go back and vote, in the long run, if the wrong party wins because you didn't vote, a party that you didn't want to won, it will cost you more than that price of the ticket to go back at one time. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so like what sir you mentioned that if you don't vote for your favorite party, as your preference party, if you don't go out and vote, and there's no point if you don't pay. There's no point for you to debate or making excuse. Don't go to hometown like if in East Malaysia or in Semenanjung also. So there's no point for it. So I guess that's all for the question. Yeah, it was a great view of site. I would say I hope this documentary could help all the young voters to go and vote as upcoming state elections coming up. I hope this message could make an impact in their mindset. Alright, so thank you, Mr. Zhang, for taking time for my documentary. Thank you, sir.
No way. You're welcome.
And today I'm going to interview one of the young voters, Matthew. Matthew, so were you accepted to vote for the last general election?
Yes, I was. It was my first election actually, because the previous election was during the COVID pandemic. So I was unfortunately unable to vote during that period. And so last year was actually my first time voting as a Malaysian citizen.
Oh, but right now you mentioned about last time you didn't get a chance to vote. Which election was it?
It was the one during the pandemic. I believe it was sometime in 2020.
So where do you vote for the last general election?
I voted in Sungai Petani, Kedah. That is my hometown. So just the week before the election, I actually took a train down back to hometown just so I could vote and see family, of course.
Sounds like this a genuine citizen for you.
Yes, patriotic.
Very patriotic, yeah. So what's your perspective towards the general election result last year?
I was actually quite shocked because in the region where I voted, we were the only region that had a different party winning, meaning that my vote actually was able to become the deciding factor in getting the party that I wanted elected in that particular region. Every other region was under the same party, but ours was the one that changed because of, well, I like to say my own vote, but it's really our vote.
Okay, so last question would be, what's your message towards young voters?
But I would say that you should definitely go and vote when you can next time, because even though it seems like our vote don't really matter, this election has taught me that it is important to at least make the effort to go out and vote so that you can be the change that you want to see in your country. I believe a lot of people have become more nihilistic, pessimistic about the state of our country, not just us Malaysians, but all around the world. People are looking down at the situation and thinking that nothing can be done to make changes. But I do believe that even small acts of kindness, or even this act of voting, is able to make big changes in our own society. Even though it may not be obvious, but your act is a shining example to others as well, that convinces others that yes, I too can become like them, that I too can make the change that I want to see in the world today. It's a very optimistic message that not many will accept, but it's because we become so pessimistic in our mindset right now that we see that we don't have the power to make any real changes. But really, we're just starting out. We haven't reached that period where we finally are able to make big breakthrough. But we won't reach that breaking point until we actually take the first step forward and get other people to join us as well.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Matthew, for today. And then this is the end of your commentary. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Last but not least is my part in it. I remember that day it was raining shadow and I woke up early with my parents and we gone to coffee shop, had our breakfast of the day. Somehow I heard an old senior share a conversation just aside from our seat, telling his friend about the atmosphere of the voting area. It was crowded. Even at the time, it was morning session like 7:30 a.m., 8 a.m. in the morning. Me and my dad share the same voting area, which is High School Klang. It was 1 or 2 p.m. when we arrived and we registered ourselves at the registration counter, and we met a funny story about it, which is my identity card number. It holds the same digit numbers on it, and the person of registration counter told his colleague and said, "Hey, we have a lot of same digit numbers on identity card today." Me and my father chuckles about it.
Throughout the whole progress of voting, it was smooth and fast, and it was a positive side for the election. I felt sense of proud of it, as one vote could make a difference with the future of our country. Just like Mrs. Zhang and Matthew mentioned above, if you don't vote for yourself, it will cost you more than expensive flight ticket, and you can be a shining example for others and say you can change the situation as well. This is the end for my documentary. Thank you.